Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Caleb Blake's Books. Today I have another book review for you, and that is for Assassin's Creed Brotherhood by Oliver Bowden. This is the second published book in the Assassin's Creed tie-in book series, I believe. This one is, as the title would imply, based on the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood video game. Now, I am a big fan of the Assassin's Creed games, more so the older ones. I haven't really played the newer ones. The newest one I played is Unity, which I haven't even finished, and that's over a decade old at this point. But I love, like, the original kind of, like, PS3, Xbox 360 era games, like, all the way from 1 up through Rogue. I really, really like all those games. And my favorites of them do include the Ezio trilogy, and so I have been wanting to read more of these Assassin's Creed books. I've read, this is the fourth one that I've read now. The first one I read was The Secret Crusade, which covered Altair from Assassin's Creed 1. Then I read Renaissance, which is basically the novelization of Assassin's Creed 2. And then I read Black Flag, which was the same for Black Flag. And I have reviews for all those on the channel if you're interested. But I've been wanting to read more of the Ezio trilogy novelizations for a while, just so I could kind of get done with the trilogy and actually, like, finish that story in book form, even though I've already played the games a couple times now, but then I can also have read the trilogy. And I was recently able to listen to the audiobook of this, so I did so, and I had a good time with it. I think it is about, my opinion on this is basically about the same as my opinion on Renaissance, the novelization of Assassin's Creed 2, in a lot of ways. So if you've seen that review already, you may not even really need to watch this one all that much, because really my opinion is about the same. But in general, I did enjoy this book. As far as things that I enjoyed about it, the thing that I think I like the most about it is the action. The action's very well written. It's very exciting, very visceral. This being Assassin's Creed, the amount of action that is in Assassin's Creed, especially in the Ezio trilogy, there's a lot of really cool, like, set pieces going on. There's a lot of, melee combat, things like that, and that is written very, very well in this book. I also did enjoy the characters. I enjoy the characters in the video games as well, and they're presented basically as they are in this book. And I enjoy them. I like their dynamics with each other. I like the dialogue they have with each other, and things like that. I don't think, this being an adaptation of a game, I don't think they're quite as charismatic or enjoyable to see as they are in the game, because with that you get, the voiceover and the visuals and everything like that. But for adapting it into a book, it's done very well, and definitely still carries the same kind of dynamics between characters, which I enjoyed. And Ezio is a cool protagonist. I really like him. I do think that I like him less in Brotherhood than I do either in, the video game version of Assassin's Creed 2 or the novel version in Renaissance, but I still like him here, and I like the story of him here, of the story of this basically being after the events of Renaissance or Assassin's Creed 2. Basically, Ezio goes to Rome in order to fight this new threat, and basically establish an Assassin's Brotherhood in Rome, and also kind of have another revenge story. And I really like that. I like kind of having both of those in one. With Renaissance and Assassin's Creed 2, it's basically like there's this revenge story alongside Ezio becoming an assassin. And in this one, he already has established himself as an assassin, so now it's a revenge story plus him trying to grow the Assassin's Brotherhood. So I really like that. I really like the story this is telling. I think it's a really cool one. I also really enjoyed the villain of this book being Cesare Borgia. I think he is written really well. He's not a character that I love necessarily. I certainly don't like him as quite as much as the villain of the last book and the last game, being his father, but I did like him in here. I think he is a really interesting kind of villain for something like this. He, to me, is very different from the other Assassin's Creed villains up to this point, and just is very hateable. If you've played the game or if you've read this book or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Like, he is like one of the most easily hateable villains, and I think that is very well portrayed here. So I really enjoy kind of his role in the story as like one of those characters that like, man, I just hate this guy. So I enjoyed that about this book as well. And I think this also did a pretty good job of adapting the video game. This is one of those adaptations, one of those novelizations that is basically just the story of the video game in book format. So if you are a fan of the game and you're hoping for it to add some more things, this isn't really going to do that. That is one of the things I look for in novelizations, so that was a little disappointing for me. But if you haven't played the video games and you still want to experience the story, maybe you're not a gamer or something like that, but you maybe have seen things about Assassin's Creed and you think it looks cool, I think this is a perfectly fine way to experience the stories, and adapts the story very well. As far as things I didn't like about this, probably the biggest thing is what I just mentioned. I prefer a novelization to expand on the story in some way, either adding more like POVs than just the one that you play as in the video game, which this doesn't really do. I think it has like one or two sections from other characters' perspectives, but that's it. So it doesn't really add much in that. It doesn't really add much new story to it. Everything in here is like a direct adaptation of the video game with maybe a few minor differences. Like, it's been a couple years since I last played the game, so I don't 100% remember. But it is pretty much just a one-to-one adaptation, and I personally tend to prefer something like earlier this year, I read the book for Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which actually added a lot of extra content to the story. Like, the beginning and ending of that book, or at least the ending, maybe the beginning wasn't and I just forgot, but the beginning and ending of that book was, as far as I could tell, completely original to the book. And I like something like that a bit better because it gives me a reason to read the book rather than just going and playing the game. So if you are a fan of the video game and you already have played it over and over and over again, there's not really much of a reason to go and read this book outside of maybe just completionist. You're a big fan of the video game, so you just want to go read it just to have read it. But otherwise, unless you haven't played the game before, or maybe you played it years and years and years ago and you just want a different way to experience the story, then maybe it would be worth it. But if you already are well acquainted with the video game, well acquainted with the story, then I don't feel like there's much reason to read this. The only other main issue that I have with this book, I know I said earlier I really liked Cesare as a villain. I really like the way he's portrayed in this. I personally don't find him that interesting of a villain, though. Like, to me, he feels really, really one note in a way that is done well because, he is a character that you just hate because of the things he does and the way he acts and all this stuff. But to me, he's not that interesting of a villain. So to me, that is also one of the weaker aspects of the Brotherhood story in general, even though, especially in the video game, I love seeing him on the screen. Like, the actor who played him in the video game did a great job. Like, he's very expressive and all that stuff, and him in this book also very expressive through his dialogue, but he is not a character that I find particularly interesting, so I guess there's that as well. But overall, I had a good time with this. Like I said, it's one of those things where if you've already played the game before, like I have, and you already kind of know the story pretty well, not much reason to go ahead and read this. But, if you haven't played the game before, if you're, not into video games, maybe, because I know there are some people who aren't really into games but are still interested in media tie-in books, then I would recommend checking this out because it is a very good way to experience the story outside of playing the video game. Or, like I said, if you played it years ago, maybe when it first came out and you just want to brush up on the story without having to go play the video game all over again, then it's a pretty decent replacement, I think. Yeah, otherwise, it's well done. It's a good book. But I would just be aware of that if you are coming at this from the perspective of someone who is already a big fan of the game. So as far as a rating out of 10, I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. Like, it was a good, enjoyable book. Generally, everything done well about the characters and the story in the video game is still done pretty well here. There's just, like I said, not much reason for me personally to really recommend reading it if you're already a fan of the video game, which I am. So to me, it was kind of like a nice refresher, but that was about it. But it was done well. It was written very well. Also, to me, like, the story of Brotherhood just isn't as interesting as the story of 2, in my opinion. But it's still well done, still enjoyable, still a good read, still well written, all these kinds of things. It's just, a pretty good book, and that's really about all there is to it for me. So that's pretty much it for this review. Let me know in the comments if you have read Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, if so, what you thought about it. If you played the game before, what you thought about it, how you think they compare, anything like that. Which of the Ezio trilogy is your favorite? Let me know in the comments. I'd probably go with 2 for the story, but I love the gameplay and Revelations, so that's just me. Although when I first played them the very first time, Brotherhood was my favorite. Yeah, let me know that in the comments as well if you're a fan of the video games, which of the 3 you like the best. But that's pretty much it for this video, so thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.